All right, folks. All right.
All right, folks, welcome. Welcome to the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. Joe, wow, there's a little bit of feedback there. Sorry about that, folks. I am Joe Mangiacotti, and this is the Joe Mangiacotti Show. Over the next hour, you can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. You can also use our text line, which is up and running, of course, at 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388. Today, back at HQ Flying the Board, he'll get you into the studio for two-way talking conversation. And, yep, there we go. I got so used to that, Ted. When it didn't come, it threw me off my balance. All right, folks, we got a lot to talk about in today's show, and I want to make sure that everything's running. We're good on that end, Ted. So that's fantastic. Look, there is a lot to cut through the noise here and to talk about, break down the spin, bring you the truth, straightforward, unfiltered. We try to do it with a healthy dose of common sense because let's face it, folks, in a world where the media and the political elite are more interested in controlling the narrative than actually solving real problems, somebody's got to take this and talk about it straight. And we see this with what the Democrats are fighting for when it comes to Doge and so forth. So let's kind of look into this. First of all, we do have this fear-driven politics to the left at Worcester's Sanctuary City charade. Imagine my surprise when the news is on in the background there, and I kind of glance and I see Worcester, Massachusetts, on the Chiron on a national broadcast show. Of course, what are they doing? So right there, I want to talk about that. We will get into it more here in Worcester, where the city council just voted to make it a so-called, of course, sanctuary city. I mean, are they just running with the idea of the illegal immigrants in the sanctuary city? Anyway, sanctuary city for transgender individuals. Now, what does that mean? Well, it's mostly symbolic, of course. And as cities are finding out, they can't actually pick and choose what federal laws they want to follow. Pam Bondi's making sure of that. So it doesn't actually change anything in the law. They can't change federal law. But it's another classic example of performative politics meant to stir up fear where there is none, where there shouldn't be any. So let's be real. No one is coming after trans people. No one is being rounded up. No one is being denied their basic human rights. But if you listen to the activists and the progressive politicians, you'd think we were living in some dystopian nightmare where jackbooted federal agents are storming into Worcester to arrest people for seeking gender-affirming care. It's nonsense. It's fear-mongering. It's designed to divide us and distract us from the actual issues affecting everyday citizens, like crime, the economy, government overreach. Here's the kicker there. The city council vote could actually cost Worcester federal funding for education, housing, and social services. That's money that helps real working class families. But no, city leaders decided that virtual signaling was more important than making sure the city keeps the resources it needs. Because feeling Trump or 2025, apparently we had California voted millions of dollars to make it Trump-proof. I don't know what the hell that means. So I say it all the time. When the left doesn't have a real crisis, they do manufacture one. And this is just the latest example. On the good news, Tulsi Gabbard has been confirmed as DNI. And of course, the left is losing their mind there. And Mitch McConnell voted no. Remember, this is a 4-time Democrat congressperson, an officer, fighter pilot in the United States military, she's in the reserves, and a Democratic presidential candidate. Now, let's shift gears to some actual news because she has, in fact, been confirmed as Trump's new director of national intelligence. It's a very important job. They decide what is important, what the president needs to be briefed on. And let me tell you, the reaction from the usual suspects has been priceless. And the establishment politicians and their media allies are absolutely melting down because Tulsi Gabbard, a former Democrat, as I said, turned independent, now Republican, just stepped into one of the most powerful positions in national security. Why? Because she actually believes in civil liberties, in holding the intelligence agencies accountable. Imagine that. A director of national intelligence who doesn't think it's okay for the government to spy on its own citizens without a warrant. What a radical concept. The deep state is shaking right now because they know Tulsi isn't one of them now. She's not a career bureaucrat who's going to rubber stamp illegal surveillance or protect intelligence agencies that they think are just simply above the law. She's a veteran, a patriot, and someone who has been calling out government overreach for years. Look at her record. Kamala put her on the blue skies do not fly list. And what did Hillary do? She started the she's a Russian asset thing. I think that was two women very fearful of a younger, intelligent, charismatic female Democrat. And now she's in a position to actually do something. And let's not forget the only Republican senator who voted against her, Mitch McConnell, the guy who has spent decades making sure Washington stays exactly the way it is, corrupt, unaccountable, and serving only the elite. So this is a huge win for those of us who actually care about restoring constitutional government and ending the surveillance state. And you can bet that this is just the beginning of Trump's second term shakeup. The media is also freaking out over RFK Jr. He's been confirmed, speaking of those shakeups, because the media still hasn't figured out what to do with him. He's a Kennedy now in a Republican administration, and not just a Kennedy, meaning not somebody with the name Kennedy, but the direct lineage of the Kennedys, Robert Kennedy's son, JFK's nephew. So the left should love him, right? But he's also a truth teller who isn't afraid to call out government corruption and big pharma especially. So they absolutely hate the guy. And now he's a Trump or in the Trump administration. That's right. The son of Robert F. Kennedy, a lifelong Democrat, is working with Donald Trump. And if that doesn't tell you how broken and out of touch today's Democratic Party is, I don't know what is going to convince you of that. RFK Jr. has been one of the strongest voices against government and corporate collusion, whether it's big tech censorship, pharmaceutical corruption, or pharmaceutical corruption, or the overreach of federal agency. Let's be clear. He's not some right-wing operative. He's just a guy who actually believes in freedom and accountability. He's been suing not just Big Pharma and in other corporations for pollution or wrongdoing. He sued Donald Trump, or Trump corporations, right? Not Donald personally, but he has sued and stopped the Trump company from building things. But for the left, that's the ultimate sin. They'd rather destroy him than to listen to him. And now that he's aligned with Trump, oh boy, the media is about to go into full-blown meltdown mode. You can see it. Trump's second term, the great reckoning is begun, folks. And that brings us to the big picture. Trump's second term is underway, and we are already seeing the deep state, the media, and the establishment politicians panic. Absolutely panic. They don't know what to do. They're doing these daily rallies, and they have dropped so low. The language, the swearing, we'll play a clip a little later. Tulsi Gabbard is heading up the intelligence community. RFK is playing a key role in reforming government, making America healthy again. The usual suspects, Democrats, rhinos, and their media allies are all in full panic mode because they see what's coming: real accountability, real reform, and government that actually works for the people, not the elites. And let's not forget that the Trump agenda is just getting started. Now we have 11? This person coming from Belarus is going to be the 11th American returned to American soil in a matter of weeks. Nothing was done in the entire 4 years of the Biden administration. So that's where we are today, folks. The left is fear-mongering. The deep state is panicking. The Trump administration is actually doing what it promised. That's a unique thing from a politician, right? Shaking up the system and holding the people accountable. And we're just 6 weeks into the second term. So I want to hear from you. I want to hear what you think. What say you? What do you think about Worcester declaring itself a sanctuary city for trans people? Woo! I actually posted on my Facebook feed asking anyone that was at the city council meeting or any activist from Worcester to join us on the show at 508-871-7000. 508-871-7000. I will give you time on this 50,000 powerhouse station to make your point, form your argument, tell everybody in Worcester County and most of New England, that is actually, why Worcester did this, why it should do this. And do you agree with Tulsi Gabbard's confirmation? What do you make of RFK's role in Trump's administration? Again, the number is 508-871-7000, 508-871-7000. Let's have some common sense conversation for the common sense citizen. Don't forget that the station does stream 24/7 on the TuneIn app. Do me a favor, if you don't have it, download it. It takes a couple seconds, and then punch in WCRN. You'll see our really cool logo. Do me a favor, hit the like button. We know you're there, and then we're very easy to find. And of course, I stream it on my social media platforms. So Joe Mangi Show, follow me on social media, Joe Mangi Show, M-A-N-G-I. I stream it to X, Facebook, Twitch TV, my LinkedIn profile, and Rumble TV in real time. We don't post it after the fact. So if you go to Rumble down, you go to the Joe Mangiacotti channel, and there it is, streaming right there. And we're trying something new today. I'm streaming it to Instagram. So the Joe Mangiacotti Show Instagram account, I don't know if I set that up right, so this is an experiment. We'll check it out. Our text line is at 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388. The lines are open and available at 508-871-7000, 508-871-7000. That's how you get into the studio for two-way talk and conversation. Tomorrow at this time, you'll have the Carr Brothers. They'll come your way. That's a great show. I really enjoy that show. And coming up today, after my show, of course, Frankie Boria joins you at 2:00, and she really makes you think about your health. I got to tell you, every time I listen to her, I am starting to reevaluate my morning routine. All right, folks, stick with us. We're gonna take a quick break. We'll come back on the other side, back in 2 and 10.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own. The MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
Making Money Last is moving to a new time slot right here on WCRN. Beginning Monday, January 27th, the show will be heard from 6 to 7 p.m. immediately following the Howie Carr Show. We'll take you from Capitol Hill to America's capital markets. Just imagine conservative common sense politics followed by conservative common sense retirement planning strategies. So listen to me, Jerry Doherty, on Making Money Last at our new time, Monday through Friday from 6 to 7 p.m. and live better in retirement.
Nurses know it's about more than just medical skill. It's about being present, enduring, and caring. But not all settings make it easy. Enter Family Lives, a nonprofit home healthcare agency run by nurses who know nurses. Our nurses provide continuous care to patients with complex conditions. And this work permits nurses to foster relationships. The best part? We take care of our nurses too. Family Lives offers a comprehensive benefits package. Join us in caring for others and being cared for yourself. Call Family Lives at 508-475-0493.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second segment here of the Thursday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. I'm Joe Mangiacotti, and you can join the conversation for the remainder of the hour at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. That will get you into the studio for two-way talk and conversation. What say you? Let me go to the phones real quick because Mark has been waiting patiently. Hey, Mark, what say you?
I was watching the news this morning, and you hear me all right, man?
Yeah, that was just a
Feedback.
little feedback. We're good. Sorry.
So you can hear me all right.
Perfectly.
Okay, fine. So, anyways, yeah, I watched the news this morning, and lo and behold, Hamas has come to their senses, and they're going to acquiesce to Trump's demand that the really what they are is prisoners of war. That's how Hamas looks at them, and they're going to release the Israeli hostages that were initially scheduled to be released. So they came, and the reason they came to their senses is that Donald J. Trump announced like 2 days ago that if those hostages are not released by, I believe, Sunday, this
Noon
coming
Saturday,
Sunday, all hell will break loose. So they suddenly come to their senses. You know what I'm saying? Donald Trump told them that the U.S. military, we know where you live, we know where you hang out, and you're going to get an unmanned drone dropped right in your lap. And that'll be the end of you. And they know that. They're smart enough to know that. And that's what you call effective leadership for a change.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark, yeah, in that.
Bye. See you later.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for the call. Yes, the thing here is the deadline, by the way, was Saturday at noon, or all hell will break loose. And it's funny that reporters ask him, what does that mean? Well, go look up what it means. I don't think it takes a rocket scientist. You don't need Elon Musk to tell you what all hell will break loose means. But Mark, you made a good point. I don't know if you meant to do that or not, but Donald Trump has used this before. Our intelligence agencies do know who the players are. They know right where the hostages are. They know where all of these bad actors, where their families are being hidden out and kept. And he's taken the gloves off for Israel. Joe Biden has slow walked the arms to Israel, has put on these limits what they're able to do. I've always thought, I think I said this before on the show, who the hell are we to tell another sovereign country how to fight their war when they were attacked? Because I don't think we would have taken very kindly to Britain or Israel or any other country after 9/11 here, telling us just how much we're able to, fight back. No, Israel was attacked, American hostages, and the ultimatum Donald Trump has given to Hamas is the ultimatum that Joe Biden should have given on October 8th. That should have been the position of the United States from day one after the horrific attack on Israel on that October 7th, Saturday morning. Period. And Hamas, I'm sure, is very concerned because we've seen the conditions of the hostages that have been released so far. And Donald Trump said it, man. They look like they were survivors from the concentration camps in Nazi Germany. They're emaciated, they're ill, they haven't been taken care of, and they lived in horrific conditions. So even though Trump had said that, I was pretty confident, like Mark said, they acquiesced to those demands, and I think all the hostages will be released. But there's a lot of things that can be done. Let's not forget that the Gaza, all the electricity and water is provided by who they hate the most, Israel. When Israel gave them the keys to it and said, all right, you guys take the Gaza Strip, it's yours, have at it. Here are the keys. We'll still send clean water and electricity to you guys. I mean, that was pretty big of Israel. And then America, we and other countries have given them billions of dollars in aid. And did they take that aid and build hospitals and roads and schools? No, they built tunnels and makeshift weapons, rocket launchers, underground, a very vast underground network of tunnels, offices, sleeping quarters. I mean, that's where the aid went, folks. That's what they used, the billions of dollars that came in. That's what they did with it. All right, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. So let me talk about the manufactured crisis of Worcester's sanctuary city for trans people. And it is a manufactured crisis. What was it? So Worcester has officially declared itself a sanctuary city for transgender individuals, following a city council vote that was more about political grandstanding than actual governance. It was a 9-2 resolution, while largely symbolic, asserts that transgender individuals are under attack by the Trump administration and that the city will not enforce federal policies targeting gender-affirming care. So first of all, you can't, again, pick and choose what federal laws you like to follow and not follow. And I'm not sure what they mean by attacking gender-affirming care. So if you do know, please, and you're an activist, 508-871-7000, please come and explain this to us. But here's the reality. No one is coming after transgender people. You do know that, right? No one is trying to strip away their basic rights. No federal agency is actively targeting them for simply existing. This entire movement is based on a fabricated threat designed to stoke fear, create division, and push a political agenda. And that distracts from the real issues facing Worcester residents. So what exactly are they afraid of? The rhetoric surrounding this issue suggests that Worcester needed to take a drastic action to protect transgender people from some immediate danger. No one's identified the danger. Yet no one can clarify or clearly define what that danger is. Opponents of Trump claim that his administration is stripping away transgender rights. But what they fail to mention is no one is advocating for the criminalization of transgender identity. The administration is saying biological men shouldn't be in locker rooms with especially teenage females, or play in sports, especially contact sports, where the biological male has more muscle mass, bigger lungs, bigger heart, and people have been injured on the playing fields. So no one's stripping away transgender rights. No, the only policies being debated concern government-funded procedures, biological definitions and legal contexts, and protections for women's spaces, issues that are fair game for political discourse. But if you don't agree with the left, you're not allowed to debate or talk about it. And this is one of those situations that's an 80-20 rule. I've referenced this. Trump seems to always he's taken the position or in the position of where most Americans are. And he takes his stand there. And through whether it's knee-jerk reaction or just to be contrarian, the left have to go against whatever Trump says. So then they take that 20% position and they wonder why they're at 31% approval rating as a party, that is. So why all the hysteria? Because the modern left thrives on creating victims. When people believe they are under attack, they are easier to mobilize. The activists behind this movement want to keep transgender individuals in a constant state of fear and outrage. Now, there was many activists at the city council. They spoke. It got a little out of control. You can hear the mayor gaveling it down. Hey, Ted, can we play the clip from the city council meeting the other night, please? So this is from the Worcester City Council meeting on the vote, or getting up and ready for the vote on transgender activism. Go ahead. And if you could play that.
Normally, I would say good evening, but through the chair, I will only impart my sour grapes.
My name in drag is Dee Dee Delight. And my name out of drag is Dewey Cosgrove Atienza.
My name is Pastor Julie Payne Britton. I use the pronouns she and her, and I am disabled cisgender lesbian.
I speak as both the B and the T in the LGBT. I speak as someone who is always misgendered, like all the time. People refer to me as sir when I prefer to be referred to as ma'am.
I'm shaking right now. I don't want to be here.
Please.
I'm sorry. Am I taking too long pleading for my life?
I need the city to protect me because the federal government won't. And if you think you're afraid of Trump, you should see how afraid of Trump I am. You better prepare for trans people to make this a very unsafe space.
I do not want to be here. It's my day off. I don't want to spend an hour applying glitter on my face so that you will hear and see me.
Can you look at me and tell me how many of my...
Please wrap
Look
up.
at me.
Okay, we're all done here.
Pathetic.
We're all done.
Wow. Okay. Now, what was the part? About unsafe? That sounded like a threat. Get prepared because trans people are going to make it very unsafe. Ted, I got a feedback on that. Maybe the audition. So that's what are you saying? Right. And the one, I'm not going to nitpick here, complaining about having to put glitter on their face for an hour. No one's asked you to do that. That's you don't complain about something you choose to do cosmetically or aesthetically, or you don't put a shirt and tie on or makeup and then complain. But that aside, are they threatening? Better be prepared for transgender people to make it very unsafe. I think this is way overreaction to something going on here. But what say you on this? We'll get into this a little more, but we do have to take our mid-show break here on the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show at AM 830 WCRN. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. 508-871-7000. Again, I'm opening the lines to any trans activists. Join us back in 2 and 10, folks.
Time now for the forecast from the Boston Independence Group Weather Center. Call Jerry Doherty today at 877-772-1776. Retirement is within reach.
Meteorologist Sherry Spear, and here's the latest Boston 25 weather on Radio 830 WCRN. We've got highs in the 30s and 40s today, and it will dry out this afternoon after a really just wet and icy start to the day. Afternoon hours will remain cloudy. We've got winds gusting 40 to 50 miles per hour tonight and during the day tomorrow. And tomorrow's going to be distinctly brighter. It's going to be back to sunshine for your Friday and Valentine's Day plans, but highs will be limited to the lower 30s. I'm meteorologist Sherry Spear, and you can hear Boston 25 live for the morning drive weekdays on AM 830 WCRN.
Headline news, weather, and local information central to your day on Radio Central 830 WCRN.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own. The MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second half of the Thursday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. You can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. get you into the studio for two-way talk and conversation. Ted is manning the board there and running all of the gadgets from headquarters at WCRN. Our text line is 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388. And I hope that somebody takes my offer up who was either at the city council the other night or is a trans activist in Worcester, or if you just attended, call up and tell us what this is. This is a distraction from real issues. Worcester is a city with economic struggles, crime concerns, an overburdened education system. Instead of addressing these pressing issues, the city council has wasted weeks debating symbolic gestures that will do nothing to improve the lives of their constituents. Even Councilor Morris Bergman, who voted against the resolution, pointed out that this move could jeopardize federal funding for education, for housing, social services. Yet the majority of the council dismissed this real concern in favor of purely symbolic declaration that provides no tangible benefits to anyone. Worcester's leadership should be focused on lowering crime, fixing roads, improving education, supporting businesses, not chasing imaginary boogeymen. One of the most baffling aspects of this debate is the insistence that transgender individuals are uniquely oppressed in America today. That is news to me. The truth is, most people simply don't care about someone's gender identity. Do you really? Does it matter to you? If you refer, I know if I refer to somebody in the wrong pronoun because of how they present, that's a mistake, misunderstanding. If they're politely correct, I will address them in the pronoun they wish to be addressed in. Not a big deal. The truth is, most people simply don't care. No one is going out of their way to harass, intimidate, or strip away rights from transgender individuals. If they are, I'd like to know about it. We'll put a spotlight on it. So what conservatives do care about is forcing ideology onto others, altering legal definitions to erase biological reality, and demanding government-funded medical treatments. But none of that equates to oppression. The fact that 200 people showed up to a 5-hour meeting to push a symbolic gesture should tell you everything you need to know. This is a performance, not a crisis. Councilor Nugent accused their colleagues of transphobia simply because they disagreed on policy, proving that this is not about safety. It's about ideological purity. Dissent is not allowed in today's leftist circles. If you question their narrative, you're labeled a bigot. Meanwhile, Mayor Petty justified the resolution by saying, "We got your back." But the government's job is not to provide emotional support. It's to serve all citizens fairly. Worcester's leadership has chosen to prioritize performative activism over governance, pushing a non-existence crisis while ignoring the real problems affecting residents. So the conclusion here is enough with the manufactured hysteria. Worcester's sanctuary city vote is a classic example of virtue signaling at its worst. Instead of governing, the city council has embraced a narrative of fear and division to justify unnecessary political theater. No one is coming after transgender people. No one is stripping away their rights. The real victim here is Worcester's taxpayers, who have been forced to watch their city government chase ghosts instead of solving real problems. It's time to stop playing identity politics and start governing for everyone, not just the loudest activist in the room. So what are they afraid of? There is no actual threat to transgender people in Worcester or nationwide. The Trump administration has not criminalized transgender identity. This is fabricated crisis. And this is a political stunt designed to mobilize activists, not to protect people. The resolution is purely symbolic, offers no new protections beyond the existing law. Worcester faces real issues, as I said, crime, education, economic struggles that are being ignored in favor of this performative activism. And most Americans do not care about someone's gender identity. The real debate is about forcing ideology on others and using taxpayer money to fund controversial policies. Worcester's activists are creating division where none exists. Council has ignored warnings that the resolution could jeopardize federal funding. Worcester's leadership chose activism over governance, risking funding for education, housing, and social services. And if that funding gets pulled, and it could happen, no one's looking to do it. But just like declaring yourself a sanctuary city for illegal aliens has no basis in law at all either. So stop manufacturing the hysteria. The idea that these people are under attack is a false narrative. Instead of focusing on the real issues, Worcester's leadership spent a week on symbolic vote. Worcester, you guys need real governance, not virtual signaling. This is a distraction from real problems. Worcester should focus on their governing, not chasing this imaginary issue. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation, 508-871-7000. We're going to go to the phones. We're backing up here. Ken, what say you?
Hello, Joe. As I follow this particularly on the next morning show, when I heard this was being proposed a week ago, it's like sanctuary for what? I mean, we're not talking about illegal.
Right. No one knew this was a problem, right?
But here's the question. When it comes to youth, namely males competing in female sports, and by the way, we had this battle in New Hampshire. And then when it comes to surgeries for youth, which the president's edicts have addressed, is that a state issue, or does this proclamation for Worcester kick in?
It's from what I understand from the articles I read, it's just Worcester doing it. I mean, that's
Worcester's doing this. What I'm saying is, I doubt that the state of Massachusetts is going to block a male competing in a female sport. They've been allowing it for years, and knowing our governor, you're not going to change that. And would Worcester be in any distinctive? They're just going to piggyback on the state.
Mm-hmm.
And then likewise, you have a big health community, the hospitals, and they're actively mutilating children. Let's cut to the chase.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to back off from doing that. So who is it that's going to be approached? The institutions, the health care facility, the state, when it comes to allowing trans youth to compete against girls?
Ken, I don't know. Like I said in my open, I don't know what it is that they think is happening. What is it that you're afraid of? Nobody is targeting you. Nobody's. The issue comes down to, you made the reference to it, is now the federal government under a new administration is looking at all of this money that's going for these surgeries and treatment. Now, there is absolutely dysphoria. That is a thing. I agree with the mind or the thought process that minor children should not be making that decision that alters their body for the rest of their lives. We don't let them make other decisions, right? We don't let them buy alcohol. They're 21. They can't go into service till they're 18 on their own, or 17 with a parent's signature, right? But they're actively ignoring this. It used to be you couldn't even get an aspirin without the nurse calling your mother to find out if it was okay. But they're talking about actively hiding a procedure or treatment from your child. I don't agree with that. I don't understand why that's acceptable on any level. And it's as if, because the one in a zillion situations where that child, or the student in this case with schools, have parents that are not understanding or so forth, that now they're going to make policies for everybody. They're acting as though every single child that questions their sexuality or their gender is going to have parents that are going to lock them away in the basement, or maybe physically abuse them, or I don't know what the fear is. But you can't tell all parents how to govern or take parental rights away on something that isn't happening, if you understand what I'm saying.
Joe, they're already, I don't know about Worcester specifically, but everywhere in the country, they're already taking away.
That's my point. And this administration is going to change that. And one of the ways they're going to change it is with the funding. If you ignore what the federal government is saying, like keeping biological males out of the locker room, and you don't go along with that, they can stop funding all that federal money. That's the only power the feds have in this situation.
But it's really clear as an analysis, hearing this over the past few years, that the people that were showing up that are being shown on national news with the outrageous shows that they're putting on, including a 7-year-old boy being made to read a political statement, totally obnoxious. But they'll do. There's nothing they won't do because they want to create a magnet, and they think creating the magnet creates power. That's rather obvious.
Yeah. I agree 100%. But like I said, Ken, I put it out on Facebook. I put it out here in the show. If you're an activist or if you were at the meeting, I'll give you time on a 50,000 watt powerhouse station to make your case and explain to me what it is. This one, I believe she'd said she was in drag, right? So I don't know. She didn't say the pastor said the pronouns. I don't know if she identified it as, I think she does, as a she. She said, if you think we're unsafe, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember, we can play the clip again, be prepared to, what did she say? We're going to have to play that again. Basically, she threatened and said, if you think we're unsafe, you better be prepared to really see what unsafe is. Where's that coming from, Ken? That's crazy. That's lunacy to get up there and start threatening the citizens of Worcester. Final thought before I have to let you go. We're against the clock.
When they start complaining about pronouns, they say, all right, tell me your first name, and I'm going to address you by your first name, and that's it. I'm not playing your game.
Yeah, that's the other thing, folks. Thank you, Ken, for the call. Always appreciate it. We have freedom of speech, which means we're allowed to say whatever we want, short of fire in a crowded theater. But it means you don't have to be forced to say things either. All right, we'll be back in 2 and 4. Stick with us.
When you're planning your wedding or special event, make sure you and your guests arrive safely and on time. Choose the best. AA Transportation has over 600 vehicles and a team of licensed professional drivers, making them the largest transportation company in Central Mass. AA Transportation delivers world-class service with a personal touch, ensuring the transportation of your wedding or special event goes perfectly. AA Limousine Services can transport wedding parties up to 14 people in our luxurious stretch Cadillac Escalade limos. We provide guest shuttles up to 55 passengers in our activity coaches or buses, so your guests get home safely after celebrating your special day. For custom wedding or event transportation, call AA Limousine Services, 508-791-9100, 508-791-9100. Or visit us online at aatransportation.com.
Perner Logging and Land Clearing. Fully equipped with state-of-the-art equipment to handle all of your lot and land clearing needs, whether it's 1 acre or 100. They regularly service customers in the local area and will travel to neighboring communities and beyond to get the job done. Now, whether you're doing new construction, renovations, or clearing land for a new development, the Perner Logging and Land Clearing team of experienced personnel makes small or large jobs run efficiently, giving them the ability to always keep the competitive edge. They'll quote your job from something small to hundreds of acres, factoring in all aspects, including the wood salvage value, if any. In addition, they have the right equipment for each size job, making for the most efficient job site possible. For every job, Perner Logging and Land Clearing make sure the client's goals are the main objective. Call Perner Logging and Land Clearing today for a free estimate, 978-270-9916. That's 978-270-9916.
All right, folks, welcome back to the fourth and final segment here in the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN Radio Central. And you can join the conversation for the remainder of the hour at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Let's go to the phones. Dan has been waiting patiently. Hey, Dan, what say you?
How you doing, Joe? Good to talk to you. I think these Worcester extremists in Worcester, I mean, this is what they do to take our eye off the ball. I mean, they create a crisis, they create a havoc somewhere, and so because we were exposing them with the USAID, and Doge has been killing them. And the thing is you've got these extremists. The moderate Democrats are gone. When you look at their voting record, they're totally gone. I mean, you got the Vernon Jones in Georgia who left the Democrat Party, went Republican. You got Van Drew in New Jersey who left the Democrat Party, went Republican, because he said it himself. He goes, I've been abandoned. And when you look at his voting record, he's an 80 and 90 voter in 2 consecutive years. I mean, that's a good voting record.
Yeah.
And then you get Tulsi Gabbard. He left the party as well. And the thing is when you're on the ground and you're talking to voters, and I'm telling you, since 2018, I've talked to probably over 50,000 voters. It's crazy how many voters I'm wearing shirts. I'm talking to voters 7 days a week, and I'm telling you, even just in the Deal campaign, okay, in Massachusetts, because I went over the border, I did over 8,000 doors just in Mass. That wasn't counting the ones I did in New Hampshire.
Wow.
So that being said, that's when you see that on the ground doesn't reflect the election. Okay. And I'm telling you, these extremists, and they're not as, even Trump getting over 77 million votes, Kamala Harris's numbers are inflated. If you eliminated all the fraud voting systems in the country, you would see there was a bigger separation there. And, it's just, and they don't want us to know about corrupt Joe Biden. When he was in U.S. Senate, okay, he was in charge of the Senate Foreign Relations that oversees USAID. They don't want us to know that Obama's mother, Ann Donahan, worked for USAID and the CIA. Or they don't want us to know all the money that was flowing through the USAID when in 2010 in Haiti, okay?
Yeah.
With the earthquake, how Obama's Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, was in charge of $13 billion.
Yeah.
And she sent her husband, Bill Clinton. Yeah.
I got to tell you, Dan, that whole Haiti thing, because that still looks horrible there. A lot of money disappeared, evaporated on Haiti. I mean, that's a good example of it. But this whole USAID, again, folks, it's not aid, it's an acronym. And it has been just this slush fund that we kind of knew that this thing existed, but no one really paid attention. I don't understand, Dan, why are Democrats deciding to die on this hill? Well, how are you defending millions, even thousands of dollars for an LGBTQ comic book in Guatemala, or $2 million for transgender operations? That's not our responsibility. We don't get up and go to work and raise our families and pay our taxes and follow the rules and the laws here to pay for things in other countries. And they all seem, or not they all, that's a too broad of a statement, but a lot of them seem to be to push the leftist agenda. So again, and I said this before, when it comes to USAID, is thank you to Elon in that force. And by the way, Elon is duly employed by the government, even though he might not take a salary, right? But this whole argument about, well, he's a co-president. If you say anything like that, like there's a coup or something, I get it if you're trying to exaggerate, but you do know how our government works, right? That's not, nobody can just take the presidency. That's just silly. But why do you have a problem with Elon when you haven't had a problem with the thousands of bureaucrats that are simply giving your tax dollar away with no oversight? As a matter of fact, the policy at USAID was not to not pay anyone, not to question it or challenge it, to pay everything that came in, including those organizations on the do not pay list, Dan. And knowing that these organizations were terror related, they still cut the checks. And this woman who sent the $59 million to New York, and I guess they went back and they clawed back 80 million, by the way. New York is saying, what right do they have? Well, first of all, she wrote this check after the president made that policy to freeze on it, so she should be fired. And not just exposing what that money went to, but I think there should be a forensic accounting of tracing the money. So the money that did go out, we should get the receipts. And to find out in that presser in the Oval the other day with Elon and his son X, why are we cutting checks that don't have coded, right? That, in other words, like Elon put it, we have thousands of blank checks floating out there. Every check should have to be able to be reconciled, that there's a code, or exactly who the payee is and exactly what invoices that tie to. Don't you run your business that way, folks? I know in my businesses, I don't cut a check that isn't attached to something. Who writes a blank check and lets it flow out there? So I don't think we're done with hearing about USAID, and now this whole other thing with the Iron Mountain where the retirement's done. We'll get into that too. But Dan, you didn't happen to go to the council meeting, did you, by any chance?
No, I didn't. But I got to tell you, you're absolutely right about Haiti. Because when you were talking about that, most of the money was spent in the northern part of the island, and where there was no damage. And they were supposed to build 15,000 homes. They only built 2,600.
And
they
schools.
Built the Caracol Industrial Park, and that's where they put in a Gap, an Old Navy, and Walmart. And Walmart, they gave $5 million to the Clinton Foundation. So it's $13 billion. Think about that. Where did all the rest of the money go? Because they only spent 90 on the home. So where did all the money go? A lot of that money is unaccounted for.
Yeah.
So it's unbelievable. And on top of it, Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney worked for USAID. So that ties into Bush's. So they're all involved in it. And then when you look at this thing, you got Victoria Noonan, who's tied to the Ukraine scandal. She worked for the Clintons, the Bushes, Obama, and Biden. And on top of it, her husband, Robert Cagg, worked for the Bushes. So I guarantee you, I hope they investigate Ukraine, because we're going to find a lot of people tied to the Ukraine money laundering scheme.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dan, thank you for the call. Always appreciate it. That's good information. Yeah. Great call, folks. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Look, again, I've always said this about Ukraine, folks. We sent a lot of money there. And now Zelensky's actually saying, because Trump made a reference to the 180 or $200 billion, and he's saying, we didn't get that much money. We got 76 billion. That's a major discrepancy. That money has to be absolutely accounted for, because you have generals buying Rolls Royces. How does that happen? But the point on that is all of that, and Trump has already told him, for all this money that America's put in there, we're expecting something, whether it's the minerals or oil or what have you. But the American people we can't just take that on the chin, folks. But under this administration, with people like Elon Musk, and yes, his young, I think one kid there is 19, but he founded a company at 14 or something. I mean, yeah, young is young. But if this person can read this code and figure this stuff out, that's fine. And the other thing that the left is talking about when they're going after Elon in his security clearance, did he have well, first of all, anybody that gets appointed, yes, they get a security clearance. But if you just take a second to think about that for a second, SpaceX and other companies Elon Musk owns and runs and is responsible for has billions of dollars in government contracts. He has gone through multiple FBI checks and background checks to get those contracts. He is probably better vetted. No, not probably in this. He is absolutely better vetted than anyone sitting in Congress, by the way. So he has been examined by the FBI, the DOJ, the DOD for years extensively because of the contracts that he does. So this is an asinine statement to talk about that he did he have a security clearance before he got this, and it's a read-only stuff. But we're against the clock. I wanted to also bring up this, that the judge has left or lifted the freeze on Trump's federal worker buyout plan. That's a pretty good victory. Trump administration won a very significant legal battle in its effort to shrink the federal bureaucracy. A federal judge lifted that temporary freeze on the buyout program that incentivized government employees to voluntarily resign. Now, the ruling handed down by U.S. District Judge George O'Toole dismisses claims from labor unions that sought to block the initiative. The decision underscores a broader push by President Trump in the Department of Government Efficiency, of course, Elon Musk, little Doge department, to reduce that waste and streamline government operations, hold public servants accountable. So the program introduced by the Office of Personnel Management, the OPM, it said to federal employees, hey, look, we'll pay up to 8 months with pay and benefits if you agree to resign. Now, this argument about, he can't do that because only Congress has the purse, yada, yada. I know, the name for the Congress is the purse. And they're already their pay is already authorized. He's just saying, you don't even have to come to work for 8 months. You'll still get your pay. But at the end of the 8 months, you voluntarily resign. And that saves taxpayers all that money. So it's not asking for any new money. If they came to work, they'd be paid anyways. Sometimes I can't even believe how simple something is and how people make that difficult. But the program introduced by the OPM offered federal employees 8 months, right? So they're just saying the White House estimates between 5 and 10% of federal workers could take advantage of this. But we're against the clock, and we got to wrap up the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here at AM 830 WCRN. I'll be back on Monday at 1 o'clock. Tomorrow, 1 o'clock, the Carr Brothers come your way. That's a fantastic show. Frankie Boyer coming on right after me here on AM 830 WCRN. All right, folks, enjoy the rest of your day. Joe out.